Alright, let's talk about our second scout here. We've seen the ranger, we've talked about him and his neglect and where he is in the game. But hey, look at the hunter. She's doing pretty good. So this is our other scout. Her whole MO is to be out there finding what the other players need. So let's get started off. Deploy a decoy. Yes, the hunter is on the prowl, and if they're hunting prey, they definitely need something to take the damage while they are out and about doing the assassination. So almost kind of a stealth style, not really going invisible, but hey, on the flip of it, you are taking damage because your decoy is. So you kind of have three routes to go here. The gathering hunter, you have the further ranger scout, and you have, well, the summoner style, if you will. Let's get into it. Sharp eyes. Increase fog of war reveal by ×2. ×3, even further. So this just allows you to see the map. This is pretty critical when finding shrines, just without even having to track them down. You just get to see so much further, which really helps with your pathfinding, and fits the scout class very well. It's a great ability to have, has no use late game, but by the point that it's no longer useful, you're probably done with your run anyway. So wonderful to have, especially when boating. If you don't go get the beacon maps, helps you find the islands a whole lot easier. And helps you also find the path on Volcanic Spire whenever you get a weird seed that doesn't generate any roads and you're just wandering through the lava, slowly dying. Foreshadow. Detect points of interest. This is a really nice thing. Pops up on your mini-map. Purple arrows that show you exactly where to go for anything that's nearby. So that's going to be any of your shrines, Volcanic Spires. If it has an icon on the map and you haven't seen it yet, this will take you to it. So, really good thing. Really on point for the scouting hunter style. Hey, look, that box is out of the bounds. Whoops. Why is that even highlighted or clickable? Odd. Bow mastery makes sense. They're a hunter, so I could see them using a bow for sure. Alright, down here we have sneak activation, reduced activation time. This really digs into the kind of stealth play where you can just get into those camps, open up the chest, and get right back out, which is kind of awesome. Really synergizes quite well with the sneaking hunter. And getting shrines without getting interrupted is also amazing, because typically you can get it done before an enemy starts their attack animation, allowing you to make it around the world without attacking too much at all. A really good mechanic to have, and I think it actually doesn't affect the beacons, which is kind of odd, and I know it doesn't affect the interactions with starting the ancients fights. So, bountiful grass, double the amount of ingredients from harvesting. This is kind of critical to the whole hunter thing. This is most of the time why you run a hunter, is that you harvest and get twice as much, meaning that you spend half as much time actually out there collecting stuff. So once you grab the 21 pieces of Starlight Seaweed, you're done. You have your Starlight Seaweed that you need for your ice set of armor. So moves really pretty quick, especially if you get the tier 3 tools. You can get through most of your armor sets as well as your weapon sets pretty darn quick. Which is just a really good skill to have, and partners quite well with the Warden's ability, meaning that when these two are in conjunction in your village, everyone can get up to full build way faster. So a very good skill to have, and fits in with the hunter-gatherer style of scouting. Pushing limits. Increase pushback of last melee combo attack. Sure. It says that it's for laying a fine trap is an Einerjar's routine, but who will step in it? Give your enemies last little push, need to make your malicious dreams come true. That tells me that not enough enemies were stepping in traps, so I'm going to knock them into it. Okay, so we've already talked about traps and how the Einerjars roll around way too much for this to be viable, and you really don't need to push anyone into the enchanted tripwires, because Well, because you put the tripwire between you and the enemy, and then they step in it. You don't put the tripwire and then go find an enemy and go back and push them into it. You just run on the other side of the tripwire and they run into it. It might be one thing if the enemies didn't step on the tripwires and walked around them, then fine, I could see an application of it. But as is right now, they'll just walk into it, so you really don't need this skill at all. So in my roadmap, this is switched over to a different ability that gives boosted damage to traps, slash a recharging, or I even thought of the concept of doing a rechargeable trap, in the same way that the Warden can just generate infinite amount of ramps and grounds. Well, I could see there being a slight cooldown, but being able to just put traps down whenever, for the Hunter. Or even just more trap damage would be pretty cool too. So, Trap Stacker, increase max stack on traps by 2. This would be awesome if traps weren't terrible. They just are. I mean, the Einer Jars don't really do anything. Again, because enemies attack and they push them away, so not really useful. And of course, you really don't need too many of them, because you probably are just going to kill enemies another way. But a trap build could be fun. I could see this being a fun thing to do, if it were to be reworked properly. Tool durability. If you've harvested enough things with your double harvest to where your tool breaks, you have too many things. Especially if you have tier 3 and you broke your tier 3 tools, then you could even make a case to just upgrade them instead of having to fix them. Or you just repair them, because why are you out so long to the point where your tools break? I've never broken tools. Once again, I'm still going to say durabilities are noob traps and fillers. They do not need to be in there and probably never get picked. And if they do get picked, the players that pick them don't really know what they're doing, or know exactly what they're doing to the point where they just never repair or back, and are insanely min-max. But otherwise, get rid of those. Recall Totem. This is a cool thing. This allows you to kind of take riskier fights or jump into the fray where you think it might not go well. The downside about this is that it's in your inventory. So when you scroll through trying to find that last health potion to pop, you end up dropping your totem in the middle of combat. You go down and you immediately respawn right where that totem is, and then you died yet again because it wasn't a good spot to be in anyway. This has been... My roadmap has moved over to a different key binding and not an actual consumable. And another thing is, whenever you respawn, you're given the option to pick between at the totem or back at your base, because sometimes when you pop up at your totem, you realize that your waystone's on cooldown and your base is getting destroyed. So, whoops, it was actually not beneficial. So, that's been tweaked on my roadmap. More of the summoning, you get an attacking decoy when rolling, arm with the bow and fire arrows at nearby enemies. Always had your back, but makes for poor company. Teehee, that's fun. But it'd be cool if you were using a bow build and it's scaled off of your bow. I'm using a bow and it's going to use the same bow that I do. Makes it more of a summoner kind of thing, a little more synergizing. Getting the wolf's awesome. It kind of goes nuts. It would be kind of cool to see the wolf attack the like rabbits or foxes, just to kind of hunt it down as wolves typically do. Or even, let's say that you were running a shield, when you have your lock on, your summons, quote-unquote, would attack what you lock on, which would be really kind of a cool thing and helps with the whole summoner style of play. That's what's in my roadmap as well. The main downside to our poor summoner friend, though, is these will not attack Jotun, or they will not attack the Ancients. They just kind of stand there and look at them odd. Even the summons coming off of the Dark Axe, the Serpent Gnasher, the cool summons you get off of there, you're thinking you do a full bid summon build, and it'd be really cool, but then you realize that those summons don't attack the Jotun or the for Ancients, so then you feel like a Guardian that can't really do anything versus Ancients or Jotuns anyway. So you're kind of useless in final fights, which just brings your overall team DPS lower as a whole. So, as far as masteries goes, it pretty much says, hey, you're going to use a fire spear, hey, you're going to use a dark axe. Okay, sure, why not? I'm always a fan of actually having a character that can use the fire spear, and someone that uses a dark axe, but if you play with anything... okay, here's the short of it. Quit putting the embraces behind the masteries, because that just says you're using specifically this combination. Otherwise you're wasting skill points, which no one wants to do. No one likes wasting skill points just so I can use a fire axe combo. Like, sorry, you gotta burn up one to get through spear mastery. Ditch it. Put it somewhere else. Put that fire embrace on the other side of something else, but not the masteries. So, but yeah, I mean, technically, if you were able to, then you could say, cool, I could go fire bow, I could go fire axe, fire spear, dark's good for axe, and that's about it. Sorry. Dark's kind of a tough one, but again, with the whole symmetry, Hunter is required to have it. So, all in all, Hunter is effectively used 9 times out of 10 for Bountiful Grasp as well as Recon. And you can see mostly just Axe Mastery usage for that player. The summons would be better if you had a little more control. They're scalable and would actually attack Jotuns and Ancients. And seeing more of the summoner tree would be pretty neat. And of course, as always, quit putting embraces behind masteries. That is on my to-do list of things to change. So that way players can play how they want and not waste skill points. So... oh, she's so angry. Oh, and obviously the trap changes to make traps useful. Would love to see more trap play out of Hunters. Alright. Well, that's it for the Hunter. Thanks for watching this one. We will continue on with 2 more of these classes to wrap up the class section of the series of the dissertation. Feel free to drop your comments below, well, or head on over to Tribes of Midgard Discord and drop me a message there. But yes, give your input on... hey, I definitely think the Hunter should be the Trap Master, or no, I want to see more of a Summoner route, or this is all hungus bungus and why aren't you playing Survival? Any old comment I'll take, but hey, thanks for watching, stay tuned, more to come, see you later.